The argument I would have with Norman Finkelstein and many others, I choose him because I'm such an admirer, is probably unforgivable. The rest of the world would think so too. I start with a question. Did Socrates read or write? We don't know. And Norman, how are we doing today? That most of us can read or don't, or read the wrong stuff, as more and more people are literate. How are we doing? The big we. I'm looking out my window. What am I seeing? I heard a podcast today. I heard it. I listened to it. Dr. Miriam Francois with Ahmer, Ahmer Rahman. Both fantastic, interesting, articulate people. She says at one point in a very cool interview, until I started digging, as is my wont, quote, I grew up reading books. Kids today get all their information from TikTok, end quote. And is your book better than her TikTok? It seems everybody agrees that is consensus. I'm not sure. It would seem to me that probably the quality of the reader is the vital factor, not the source of what is being read or listened to. To read is divine, to TikTok is to fall slowly down the slope of degradation. Okay. This is a very complete way of dismissing almost everybody else. The pre-literate world, people you don't like, people who don't have your university degrees, people who didn't study the right things at university, as complete claiming the planet is 6,000 years old and eliminates willingly what makes us human. Miriam does struggle often, to her credit. I see it in her face, with ideas she didn't read somewhere. For instance, today she says to Ahmer, well, weren't we always indoctrinated by something? Instead of the accepted liberal literate notion that the modern child is being destroyed by social media for the first time in the history of Homo sapiens, unlike the generation specifically that invented social media, unlike themselves, or the thousands of years of illiterate serfs who were informed by the reliable village priest, and still rebelled all over Europe before the Bible was translated into the vernacular. I put this to you. Did literacy make us more or less governable? And in whose interest is the well-governed state? Here, a strange syndrome always reveals itself. Successful podcasters talk about the danger to others, but somehow never to them. I guess they read a book that saved them. Our society's absolute obedience to the notions of a meritocratic, educated elite always refrains. This is what happens to most people, the hoi and the polloi, but never to me. Yes, it's super funny. Not only did Miriam read, she read the right books the right way. I hear Finkelstein in the wings ventriloquizing. The reasons to be snooty are many, it is a habit, but still I'm bound to ask again, how are we doing with a world run by the literate? And the cheap Trump doesn't read does not make your case. Your only claim, Miriam, is that you are better than the rest, and beyond success at media, there's no evidence of this superiority. Ahmer is Australian and Muslim, he tells us, of the book. I get confused the other day. I heard someone say, I was a Muslim at school surrounded by white boys. Well, these are not equivalences. You might have been brown surrounded by white boys, or Arab surrounded by English. If you're a Muslim at school, you would be surrounded by Christians, if you were. It seems Miriam too is a Muslim, and whiter one does not get. So if I come into the room, I would forgive myself for chatting with a West Asian man with a vague Australian accent and a white woman with a very English accent. All the rest is a secret, till you tell me. And a choice that you made, that you are two people of a book, tells me much that I'll not trust. until I run into evidence to the contrary, something reassuring. My mistrust is not grounded in another book, I should add, not a different book. I have no book. It is that your value comes from what you've learnt in your book. You might tell me it is yourself even, this collection of values, that you are self-determined even when you're not. You have decided to be a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew. You were born into a community, fair enough, I wasn't, but at some point it would seem a choice is possible, a symptom of adulthood, unless this community that you joined at birth does not allow you to leave. I'm free to look at the pantheons and decide to join or not. As I can join, you can leave. Leave the faith, be lost, as so many of the stories tell. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Or enter something larger. There's the rub. If you need this community, which is what you say, what it provides you with a sense of community, you will always be at war. I have not made that decision. I might have even made the decision that I am not any of these three, and I most definitely don't value your values. Mostly, I don't value any values not discovered in the soul and psyche of the valuer. You might have a personal aversion to homosexuality, an aversion sanctioned in all three books. I don't have this aversion, and that leaves me, happily or unhappily, outside the tent and the temple. If, as both Miriam and Ahmed said, their faith brings them community, lovely. It also defines those outside your community. You have been persecuted by another people of another book? Yes. And as far as I can read the signs, you will both be hurling books at each other forevermore. I am a privileged white man of the Christian West. That's no secret. The West, that has been the worst example of book people ever. So it isn't hard for me to reject bookies, all of them. There's a third option between book and TikTok, the human option, which I do not vouch for, except TikTok, that is. It is where I post poetry and polemics. Much, I guess until Ellison's going to come after me, much tougher than yours, which would have had me banished from tent or temple at least. The third option, wait for it, is independent thought, personal independent thought, an inner dialogue, the fruits of an inner dialogue. Not maybe forever wondering what would Noam or Hitchens or Jesus say. I hope to the gods this is not how you both think. You proudly claim your beliefs, which will be a circumscription of your thinking, yourself. Otherwise, you let it go, but you don't. You lead with it. All's fair. I love you anyway and your works, but I never trust you. On the comedy trials, try this. America should forgive Jeffrey Epstein. It forgave Thomas Jefferson. All cultures have a soft spot, a missing scale in the dragon's skin. It's just a matter of finding it, and then who fires the arrow.